Good morning again. It's great to have such a good crowd here with us. I think we surpassed 700 today, which is, if not a record, a near record. It just is a testament to the things we're going to talk about this morning and early this afternoon and hear about. This is the 14th year that the Chamber has presented the Spirit of Innovation Award. This year we're gratified to have every one of you here, and if you've walked through these tables and looked at the names on the cards on the top of the table, it's stunning at the diversity of the crowd that we have with us. Thank you very much. A lot's been said about innovation over the past few years. A lot of it's been said in gatherings like this about Chattanooga's businesses, some of them new, some of them less new. The ideas of our innovators reach throughout our region and, as we all know, throughout our nation as well. To begin our formal program, our invocation will be given by Hodge & Mena with MDP Management, a locally owned physician management firm. After the invocation, please remain standing for our national anthem to be sung by Shane Morrow. Shane directs Chattanooga, a well-loved local entertainment company known for blues and jazz. It's a pleasure for me to welcome both Hodge and Shane.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity for all of us to gather in celebration of entrepreneurship and innovation. Father, we thank you for our city. We thank you for our public officials and leaders who represent us daily and make decisions that affect our lives. Please continue blessing them. Father, thank you for our business community. We thank you for our chamber, its leadership, its staff, and volunteers. They work tirelessly and strive to make our community's business environment friendly to all, while promoting regional economic growth. Today, Father, we celebrate the spirit of innovation. We celebrate the entrepreneurship spirit and advancements we have made as a community. Through the spirit of togetherness, our community has made great strides to where we are recognized globally on a regular basis. And we thank you so much for this. We ask, Father, that you bless the food today, provide for those who do not have. We also ask that you bless this event, and we pray for the continuous abundance of blessings that you bestow on us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Hajan. I'd like now, if I may, to recognize our generous sponsors. Spirit of Innovation could not take place without their gracious and generous support. Our presenting sponsor today is NovaCopy. Our platinum sponsors are EPB Fiber Optics, Sandler Training, and Volkswagen of Chattanooga. Our gold sponsors today are Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, SoundForce, and Unum. Our silver sponsors are Chambliss, Bonner, and Stoffel, PC, the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport Authority, the Chattanooga Technology Council, Chatham, a Sanofi company, Cohutta Banking Company, DeCosimo Certified Public Accountants, Henderson, Hutcherson, McCullough, PLLC, Lattimore, Black, Morgan and Kane, Malden and Jenkins, SunTrust Bank, Tandis Sentiva, and the Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union. We also received outstanding support in promoting this event from our media partners. Our media sponsors include Brewer Media, 105.1 FM, ESPN Chattanooga, the Chattanooga Times Free Press, Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, US 101, CMC Publications, Cityscope and Hellscope magazines, the Coffee News, Cumulus Media, 107.9 Nash Icon, Fairway Outdoor, Partners for Christian Media, J103, The Pulse, WDEF Radio, Sunny 92.3, WDSI, Fox 61, WRCB TV, Channel 3 Eyewitness News, WSMC Classical 90.5, and WTCI TV PBS. WTVC, News Channel 9, and YP. Please join me for a moment in thanking these sponsors. I'd also like to recognize our public officials whose support and tireless effort fosters the spirit of innovation in Chattanooga that we're here to celebrate today. And we can hold our applause until I read all the names, if you will. Jeff Lewis from the United States Senate, Betsy Rinaldi representing Bob Corker's office, Chuck Fleischman, Congressman from District 3, Mayor Jim Coppinger, City Mayor Andy Burke, Chester Bankston from the County Commission, City Council members Chris Anderson, Carol Burrs, Moses Freeman, Jerry Mitchell. Let's give them all a thanks for being with us today. Chattanooga champions a number of organizations that promote technology and innovation. One of these is the Chattanooga Technology Council. Along with their mission to promote technology and innovation, they're working to establish the Chattanooga region as a national top 10 destination for talent, opportunity, and growth. Please help me welcome Rona Renee Jackson, the Executive Director of the Chattanooga Technology Council. Welcome. It's great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Bill. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I appreciate the really long-standing relationship that the Tech Council has had with the Chamber. And particularly, I'm pleased that this is the 10th anniversary for the Tech Council to award the Early Innovators Prize today. And so that's been a big success for not only the Tech Council, but for those past recipients who have gone on to really build businesses that have not only strong revenue, but a big employment presence here in this town, and that is a Chamber of Commerce dream. But a dream was just the beginning for the finalists today. It was a starting point. They've worked very hard to build these emerging businesses, and each of them impressed our judging panel on every front. With over 14 applicants, the competition for the Early Innovators Award was very strong. I'm pleased to announce that 3D Ops, Beyond Right Now Technologies, and Rapid RMS are the top 3 finalists. Please turn your attention to the screen to learn more about these worthy companies.
Rapid RMS is a cloud-based point of sale system, and one of the unique features it has is a robust inventory management that provides an easy to generate purchase order and very and quickly able to add inventory to your database with the click of a button. Running a retail industry as myself, my parents owns a liquor store and convenience store. Since age 15, I have started helping out, running as a cashier, doing a management, and as an owner. I've gone through multiple point of sale system in the industry for retail and for the C-store. And over the years, what I learned with this point of sale system is they're expensive, they have a lot of overhead cost, actually upfront cost to operate the system, and the time we spend to train our employee just makes the system very not user-friendly. Rapid RMS came in place with very simple to use scan item, easy to check out customers, and it takes as minimum as 5 to 10 minutes to train an employee how to check out a customer. Rapid RMS can scale from 1 location to 10 locations instantly. It can also operate under corporation environment who can have multiple locations, and we're able to manage different inventory structure at a corporate level. The point for the overall inventory management is to help you turn your inventory faster and provide more profitability by end of the day.
3D Ops is a 3D printing company in the healthcare industry. We provide patient-specific 3D models from a patient's own MRI or CT scan, and the models realistically match the patient's own anatomy. With our models, surgeons can hold, examine, and even practice on the patient-specific body part prior to starting any procedure or anesthesia. Hospitals deliver their 2-dimensional image to us. We deliver the 3D patient-specific model back to them, customized as the surgeon desires. And surprisingly, 3D printing unlocks data from the 2-dimensional files that simply cannot be seen on a screen. 3D Ops' main goal is to enhance patient outcomes. With preparation using our models, a patient's time on the surgical table and under anesthesia is greatly reduced. Our solution will deliver shorter hospital stays and faster recoveries. This is game-changing technology that's absolutely needed now.
Beyond Right Now Technologies is a pre-revenue, for-profit startup company currently based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Our product is sold to farmers and landowners to help them solve the over $5 billion worth of crops, commodities, and machines that are either consumed by mammalian agricultural pests or stolen by human thieves. Our system's foundational product is an automated weather-resistant drone. The drone is equipped with wireless charging capabilities with 8 rotors that are approximately 1 foot tip to tip. The system of products are used to patrol large plots of land, typically rural production agricultural fields, for perimeter incursions from feral pigs, deer, foxes, and human thieves. Beyond Right Now Technologies has several other innovations enabled from our business partners, International Business Machines and Y12 National Security Complex. We are also in the early stages of being one of the first companies that will be incorporating IBM's Watson, artificial intelligence, and machine learning into our drone.
Special thanks to Chris Simmons at Six Strong Media for his support of the Tech Council and the outstanding video production. Chris has been a longtime supporter of the Tech Council, and his time and services and gifts to us are very appreciated. I'd also like to take this time to thank the committee that spent countless hours reading all of the applications and interviewing the candidates. Paul Weidlich with Chambliss, Bonner, and Stoffel is a CTC board member, and he chaired the committee. Joining him were Kirk McLemore from EPB, Jim Frierson, Jan Rubio, and Uwe Zitzow, all who are former board members, and current board members Lulu Copeland from Chattanooga State and Dan Sade from Hamilton County Government. They did a tremendous job really sifting through quite strong an applicant pool this year. And now I'm pleased to announce the winner of the 10th Early Innovator Award is 3D Ops. Congratulations, Daniel.
Thank you. Wow, this is an amazing honor, and to to be honest with you, absolutely unexpected. This is such an honorable group of innovators that we were in competition, yes, but in collaboration with. Everybody here is a winner. If you were nominated for this award, you've won something. I do want to thank the Tech Council. I want to thank the Chattanooga Chamber, and I definitely want to thank Mike Bradshaw, the group at CoLab, and the group that ran Gig Tank this year. Y'all are an amazing group of people, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Chattanooga got innovation as far back as the early 1900s, and early inventors are tied directly to our awards today. The Spirit of Innovation Award began in 2001 as a collaboration between the Chattanooga descendants of John Crucy and the Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce. Crucy, as many of you may know, worked with the inventor Thomas Edison and produced the first phonograph in 1877. You'll see more of this story in today's program at your seat. Many organizations and dedicated individuals made today's events possible, and I'd like to thank our judges and our previous recipients, as well as the volunteers and the staff who worked on this year's event. Now I'm happy to introduce to you Matt McClellan of Kenco Logistics. Matt is one of our Spirit of Innovation judges this year with long-standing involvement in the Spirit of Innovation Award. Matt, we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I now have the pleasure of announcing the Spirit of Innovation finalist companies and ask that they stand to be recognized. Please hold your applause until we've mentioned all of the companies. Bellhops, Price Waiter, and Variable Inc. Please join me. Please turn your attention to the screen as we'll learn a little bit more about these companies.
Bellhops is a tech-based, on-demand platform providing a convenient solution to small-scale local moving through a nationwide workforce of college students. Headquartered and piloted in the Chattanooga area, Bellhops simplifies the moving process. Bellhops customers make an online moving reservation up to the day of the move, with the freedom to choose exactly how many bellhops they need and for how long. Bellhops choose their own jobs, and customers receive an email with their assigned bellhops photos and profiles so they can get to know their personal moving team. Founded by Cameron Duty and Stephen Vlaus in 2012, Bellhops now employs 25 full-time employees in Chattanooga, in addition to nearly 10,000 student bellhops who make moving easy for customers ranging from students to senior citizens in more than 120 cities in 42 states. Bellhops don't think of themselves as movers, just as friends who help you move. PriceWaiter plans to make price negotiation ubiquitous. With a personalized pricing platform that works on any online retailer site, PriceWaiter allows consumers to name their own prices across the web. Backed by leading e-commerce, conversion, analytics, and high-growth ventures, PriceWaiter makes shopping more efficient for everyone by helping shoppers save money and retailers engage comparison shoppers. When shoppers click the PriceWaiter Name Your Price button, they can quickly and privately negotiate with the retailer. Retailers can use PriceWaiter's Name Your Price button at no cost, with premium features including time expiration, exit offers, and automation. Founded in Chattanooga by Stephen Culp and Andrew Scarborough in 2012, PriceWaiter partners with retailers of all sizes and operates around the world. Since its inception, PriceWaiter has served more than 35,000 customers, increasing retailer revenue by more than $5 million and saving consumers hundreds of thousands. Variable Inc. developed Node Plus, a handheld wireless sensor platform that delivers information to smartphones and tablets. Node Plus brings the functionality of various sensors into a single affordable device, with 16 interchangeable sensors designed to analyze air quality, detect motion, perform sophisticated color matching, and much more. Variable's customers include safety inspectors, academic researchers, and other professionals worldwide who benefit from streamlined data collection, enabling them to make smarter decisions faster. Developed in 2012 by Dr. George Yu, a former NASA subcontractor and current incubator tenant, the Node Plus is a Chattanooga-made product generating a great deal of attention both internationally and domestically. The Node Plus was a finalist in the Tech for a Better World category at this year's CES, the largest consumer electronics trade show in the world. Variable has been recognized by Bloomberg Businessweek, TechCrunch, CNN Money, and other major media outlets as a thought leader in designing and developing mobile sensor technology for smart devices.
Wow, that's impressive. So in less than a minute, I'm going to announce the winner. But first, I'm going to make a few comments about judging innovation. So I figured if I'm going to talk about innovation, I may as well wear one of the most incredible pieces of innovation in this century. These are my Google glasses. So I have my whole speech rolling in front of me right now. Plus, I'm texting my wife. I've been a judge with the Spirit of Innovation for the last 10 years, and a few months ago, my good friend and fellow judge Mike Harrell and I were talking about the growing number of innovative companies here in Chattanooga, and we reflected on how much harder it is to pick winners as it has been in previous years, because the quality of the applicants just get better and better with each passing year. But I got to tell you, for me, this year was by far the most difficult. And, you know, I don't really have enough time to explain why, but I'll just say this. The difficulty that we've had, again, was very tough, but because of the work of the chamber, the city, the county, local investors like Lamppost Group, Swiftwing Ventures, Spartan Ventures, the Jump Fund, Blank Slate Ventures, the Chattanooga Renaissance Fund, and the many other organizations that are constantly working to foster innovation and attract companies by advancing our Chattanooga story. So now I'm pleased to announce the Spirit of Innovation recipient for 2014. And I don't have an envelope. It's part of the drama, but I know who it is because I helped pick the winner. Will the team from Bellhops please join me on stage?
You present.
Gentlemen, well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
This is awesome. This is also unexpected. You know, the best part about, I think, what is happening in Chattanooga right now, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, you aren't seeing the types of companies that are coming out of this city. And I really think, and I can personally say, the reason that we are here today is because Chattanooga has created an environment that startups want to move their companies to. So, you know, 2 years ago, Stephen and I moved our company to Chattanooga because Lamppost gave us our seed investment in late 2012. And, you know, we moved our company from Birmingham. If anybody's from Birmingham here, it's a really old school city, and it would be very, very difficult to do what we're doing in that city. And we moved here, and the overwhelming feeling of being in the city, or you tell somebody in Birmingham that you're a startup founder, and they look at you and they're like, oh, that's cute, you know? And there's like no respect for it there. And you tell somebody here and it's a totally different reaction. And anyway, we moved here, 3 of us. Matt and I had worked in medical equipment sales prior to this, and it was just 3 of us in the very beginning. 2 years later, we announced, I think in the video it said 25 employees, but we're closer to like 35 employees now, with probably another 10 to 15 coming on the next few months. And it's been an incredible process, and we're just super honored to be a part of it. So thank you.
I now have the pleasure of introducing today's keynote presenter, Jeff Silver. Jeff is the founder and chief executive officer of Chicago-based Coyote Logistics. Coyote Logistics is one of the fastest growing third-party logistics companies in North America, and recently acquired Access America here in Chattanooga. Coyote has received a number of accolades. They include the Chicago Innovation Award for its private fleet service, a spot in the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies 2 years in a row, and a ranking as one of Forbes' most promising companies. Prior to founding Coyote, Jeff pioneered the third-party logistics industry in the 1980s and 1990s with American Backhaulers, the second largest North American freight brokerage at that time. He holds an MBA from the University of Michigan and a Master's of Engineering and Logistics from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Please help me in welcoming Jeff to our podium. Thank you, Jeff.
So thank you very much. It is awesome to be here for a bunch of different reasons. It's great for me to hear you guys that have been up here talk about Chattanooga and what's going on here. I travel all the time, and I'm at a lot of those. I'm in a lot of those towns that the mayor referred to before that are dead or feel like they're dying. And there are a few examples around the Midwest and in the South where things have made a turn, but I don't know of one that has bounced back in the same way that Chattanooga has and reinvented itself. So it's interesting that this is about innovation in a city really that has innovated itself very differently from most of the places I go every day. So congratulations to all of you guys on that. It's also great for me to be here because of, I can walk around, I don't have to talk in that thing. It's also great for me to be here because of our relatively recent, not even a year old, group from Access America that is here. And in a way, it's extra good and interesting for me because the finalists and the winners in the last award that were just given out are sort of brethren to Access, and that they were supported by the same group and very much a part of that. So it's really cool to see those guys do well. It's also interesting for me to stand up here and be tasked with telling you guys about innovation, where I don't, I think those guys are a lot more innovative than we've been. We're just bigger. We've been at it a little longer. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we have innovated, how we've grown, what we do a little bit, and then we can take some questions after that. So Coyote is a company that we started in 2006. We are a third-party logistics company. So for those of you who don't know what that is, we're like a giant trucking company that owns no trucks whatsoever. The only thing that we have is people. So we move about 6,000 loads around the country every day, and 7-8 years into this thing, we're now a $2 billion company with 2,000 employees, including 230 of them here in Chattanooga, and another 40 or so split between Knoxville and Memphis. So our headquarters is in Chicago, where we have about 1,000 people, and we feel like we're just getting started at what we're doing. I first, as was mentioned before, my first gig was a company called American Backhaulers. I got there in 1984, same year that we heard about Born in the USA, right? So 1984, right out of the University of Michigan, and yes, we did used to have a football team, just like the University of Tennessee used to have a football team. We have the two biggest stadiums in the U.S., and we can't win a game between the two of us, so it's pretty pathetic. So started there in 1984 at a business that somebody else had actually started, and there were just a couple of us at the time, and we had no idea what we were doing. I was 21 years old. The guy that had started it was 25 or 26, and so this is 1984. There was really no technology in the way that we talk about technology now. There was paper and pens. We had a 3-line phone system. And a fax, which was pretty exciting to have a fax at that time. So when I talk about innovation, there are a couple of sort of facets or sides of innovation that I think about. One is the deliberate sort of planning that has gone on for a lot of the people here in this cradle of innovation that's here, where somebody or a group sits down and says, hey, I want to do something. I want to create a business. I'm going to go figure out what to do. The other kind I'll call laziness, okay? And I am by nature a lazy person. It doesn't mean I don't want to work hard, but I don't ever want to do anything that I don't have to do. An example of this is dishwashers, okay? Everybody loads dishwashers, presumably. I do in my house. Why do I do that in my house? Because I can't stand when my wife does it. There, to me, are two kinds of people in the world. Those who load dishwashers in a way that's easy to throw all the stuff in there when you're doing it. The others of us are people that load a dishwasher so that it's easy to take the stuff out when we're done, right? So think about which one of those you are. To me, it's a lot easier as you're rinsing off the dishes and the knives and the forks and all that stuff. You're already touching them then, right? They're dirty. So you're going to rinse them off, you're going to put them in the dishwasher, and the way I put them in is I put all the knives the same way, and I put them all together, and the forks the same way, and I put them together, and the spoons and everything else. And then the plates all go in so that they basically, when I take them out, I can reach in, grab the whole stack, and put it like that, right? To me, that's about saving time, it's about saving effort, and it's about not getting your fingers all over the dishes when you're unloading them. And there's a lot of things that we have done at Coyote since day one, and really at Backhaulers in the first time that sort of follow that same type of deal. So I had a relatively failed experience at the University of Michigan's engineering school back in 1983 when I decided that I wanted to be a computer and electrical engineer, and didn't go very well. So I ran into these things called Fourier transforms, which basically sort of describe the way electricity moves through a magnetic coil, and I was completely lost, didn't do very well. But before I switched back into the liberal arts school where I could get A's and stuff like that, I happened to get an internship programming computers in Paris. And I had a programming class in Pascal, if anybody remembers that, on my transcript, and I could speak French, so I got this internship. Went over there and actually learned how to code from these French guys, which is pretty interesting. Also learned about work in a whole different kind of way, but I won't talk about that publicly. For those of you that know France, know what I'm talking about. So came back and I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. My father was an ophthalmic surgeon. He was way smarter than I am, and not something I wanted to go into, but I knew of this company that had started up in Chicago. It was a friend of mine that was there, and he said, why don't you come to Chicago and do this for a little while, then you can go back to Europe or go to law school or whatever you want to do. And I ended up in Chicago the day after I graduated from Michigan, where I was given a card table, a Rolodex. For those of you guys that don't know what a Rolodex is because you're too young, it's like your contact list, but physically on little pieces of paper that spin around. On that Rolodex was, on each of those cards was a different trucking company's phone number and contact information, and I was given a yellow pad of paper, this contact list, and said, call all these trucking companies, find out where they have empty trucks that they need loads for, and try to match them against these loads that we have on this slot board that represented truckloads or orders from customers that needed to move. So the first day I sat down and called the first trucking company and asked them where they had trucks, and I wrote out truck in Chattanooga, Tennessee, if I could spell that then. I'm still not sure I can ever spell it the right way. Chattanooga, Tennessee, that needs to go to Chicago, and it's this kind of a trailer, et cetera. And did that. The first day wrote out everything, and by the second day I was starting to take shortcuts, right? I was writing Chatty, right, instead of Chattanooga. By the third day I was doing a CHATN and started trying to be more efficient at doing that, right? Because I'm lazy. So the easier it was to do that, the better I could move on to do the next thing. And by the middle of June of that year, I managed to convince the owner of the company at the time that we needed a computer. So we went out and bought one of the first portable computers called a K-Pro. It weighed about 25 pounds. It looked like a suitcase. It had a keyboard that folded down off the front. It had two 64K drives. And that was all. So you could put the programs on one drive and the data on the other, and that was about what you could do. But what I started to do immediately was, as I talked to the trucking companies to find out where they had trucks, I would just key in where all those trucks were, and created these shortcuts to have the cities, be easier to enter. And then every hour we would print out a sorted list of all those trucks, so that as we got new orders from the customers, it was easy to match the trucks with the loads. That actually, to us, didn't seem like very much innovation. When we sold our company at the end of 1999 to the largest guy in the business, who at that point was about a $2.7 billion company, we were about a $300 million company. They had 135 offices, and they literally had no way of doing what we had started to do in 1984. They used their software to record things that had already happened. We were using it to run our business. And eventually they took the software that we wrote, which was our 5th or 6th generation, and put it across their network. And it really ran their business up until last year, as far as I know. That type of innovation sort of just seemed natural for us to do. We didn't think about it as innovation. We didn't pay attention to anything that was going on outside of our little company. And there were other things that happened like that in the same sort of way, like how we hired, right? So pretty early on, I would say by 1990, we had gotten to the idea that, hiring the next person that comes along because they can walk might not be the most effective way to grow a company, and started recruiting on college campuses. We were the first company in our industry to do that. So here we were, these young guys that had started this company. We wore jeans and t-shirts to work, still do, except when I'm doing this. And we were out on college campuses selling our business. We were selling the heart of what we do, right? And so we started bringing in these kids, and then we figured out, we better train them as well, right? So we created a training staff and a training program, and that became a really key element in the way we were growing our business. And all of a sudden, we realized that we had this pulsating culture that was really very different from anything that we ever saw. Not that we spent any time, again, looking to the outside at these other companies, but just because that's the way we thought it made sense to do things. We also created this systematic way of moving freight. It's what we call it moving freight, right? So we have a group that was working with customers that would find the customers and quote rates to them and take the orders, then a separate group that was working with the trucking companies that had trucks that they needed to have moved. Didn't feel like an innovation and just felt like the right thing to do, but that's what we did. And really, when this company came along at the end of '99 to buy us, was really the first time we started paying any attention to anybody else and looking at the way they did things. And they did things the other way, in the way that's called cradle to grave in our industry, where the same person finds a customer, quotes a rate, takes the order, then has to find a carrier to cover the load and all that. And we didn't think it was innovative. It was just the way that we did things. So it wasn't anything new. Innovation is new, right? For us, it was just the way we did it until we were bought. And then, of course, the company that bought us sort of crushed the culture that we had created, and I went away. So I am very fortunate to have been through that first process of growing that smaller company, of selling it, and then being forced into a 5-year non-compete. It was probably the coolest thing I've ever done, except watching my 7 kids be born and all that kind of stuff. But being able to be home with my kids and my wife for 5 years in the middle of my career was great. Eventually, it started getting a little bit boring, with all due respect, and decided to start Coyote in 2006. And when we started Coyote in 2006, the same company that had bought my first company, so we were $3 billion together when they bought us, had grown from $3 billion to $8 billion, right, in 5 or 6 years. Really a crazy type of story in a crazy industry where there are 10,000 participants and no scaled competitors to this one company. So they were able to do a lot of things when they didn't have this real scaled competitor around like Coyote. They were able to do things that did not force them to innovate. And that became a great opportunity for us. So the next little piece of innovation that I'm going to talk about is not anything as cool as building drones or 3D printing or anything. It's about service. It's a very simple idea. So when we started Coyote, you had this one massive guy, you had all these little guys, and really the whole industry service level was not great. So if you gave a load either to an asset-based trucking company or a non-asset-based company like ours, typically the service level was about 80%. The company would show up about 80% of the time. On the other 20% of the time, they would call the customer back and say, we can't pick it up, we can't do this, the truck broke down or whatever. Whether they were actually things that were happening or whether they made it up, that was what was going on. At Coyote, coming back into the business, there were 2 things that really were critical to my wife, who runs our HR and really is our defender of culture, and to me to make us want to come back into the business. One of them was to rebuild a culture that was as cool as we did the first time, and the other was to outservice the living you-know-what out of every one of our competitors, and especially the big guy. So from day one, as we started moving freight in August of 2006, we decided we were going to never fail on a load. We were never going to call that customer and say, we can't get you a truck, or the truck broke down, or whatever. So it's hard to do that in our industry because, especially as we're small, we were started off moving 1 or 2 loads a day and 5 loads a day and 10 loads a day. What we're trying to do is match up capacity and freight. And once you get to scale where there's a lot of density, it becomes relatively easy to do that because the empty trucks and the loads that need to move get to be closer and closer together. But as a startup, it's hard to do that. And so what we did, instead of having the trucks be close enough to the loads, is we just paid the carriers to go get the loads, even when we were going to lose money. So over at a table over there is a red-headed guy named Mark Ford, who came and joined me back in 2006 to head that up. And he and I sat next to each other. I was dealing with the customers, he was dealing with the carriers, and we had a little sort of running tally that we looked at every day as to whether we were in the black or in the red from the day we started. We were fortunate enough that I had the capital that we didn't really need to worry about making money in the same way that a lot of companies do to start with. And it was about break-ish even, really, for the first certainly through 2006. But what we did was get a lot of really happy customers going that couldn't believe we were actually doing this. So when we started when we started trying to find customers, we would call them and say, hey, it's Jeff with Coyote Logistics. We'd love to work with you. And they'd say, yeah, we've heard it before a million times. Everybody's service is going to be better than everybody else's. But we actually did it. And we invested in doing it. And it's paid off. So today, the business that we have is driven by really three things that are critical. One is the people that we hire and how we train them. There is nothing that can substitute great people. And if you don't have great people, there is no product that you're going to be able to sell or service that you're going to be able to sell that's going to be worth a damn, right? People are everything. So especially for startups, it is just critical that you get the right people in the door, provide the right scenario for them to work in, and figure out a way for them to be happy with what they're doing. You hear a lot these days about this generation of kids that are coming out of college now. And by the way, we recruit and hire almost exclusively right out of college and train ourselves, right? So everybody says these guys today are, all they care about is themselves. They don't want to work hard. And we think that's just a load of crap. We think that the kids that we hire today work harder than we did. But the critical piece is they've got to feel like they're making a difference. They've got to feel like somebody's listening to them. They've got to feel like they're doing something that is worthwhile. And when you can provide that, you can hire these kids and have them be incredibly talented. I don't even know how they do a lot of the stuff that they do, but they are, to me, far better at what they're doing today than we were back then. So getting the right people and training them the right way is critical. The second thing is having the right technology. We design all of our own technology, and that's something that continues to get better all the time. When we started Coyote in 2006, we knew what we wanted to do. We did not know how the world was going to change. And how has the world changed? In 2006, this thing did not exist. Not even this gigantic thing, but a smartphone was not readily available. And that's really changed everything. So today, as we look forward to what we're trying to do, there is a huge amount of capacity to take work out of the system, right? To figure out how to load that dishwasher the right way so that you're saving time and work and effort on the opposite side of that, right? Today, when the drivers are working for us, they use our mobile app and we can see where they are all the time. I can't tell you how many millions and millions of tracking calls we used to have to make just to know where the drivers were. Bothering the drivers, taking up our people's time, and now those people are able to be a whole lot more productive, both the guy in the truck and the people that are working for us. The third thing that is absolutely critical, so you've got to have sort of the right workforce, you've got to have the right technology. I'll say at the same time, you have to have money, because there's nothing worse than trying to be an underfunded entrepreneur. I sort of throw that into the resource bucket with technology and stuff, but the other thing is passion. I think that the single most important thing in entrepreneurship is passion. That does not mean a founder or a founding group that isn't passionate won't be successful. There certainly are examples of that in our industry where somebody sees, oh, you can make a lot of money being a third-party logistics company, so they form a business that way, and it can grow, right? It can attract capital, it can do all the things that you need to do, but it will be a morally bankrupt company. It's never going to have the ability to harness the energy of the kids that are coming into work there, or of the workforce in general, or to inspire customers and carriers to want to work with them. So as I get to talk at occasions like this from time to time, and at schools and things, I get a lot of questions from would-be entrepreneurs about the most important thing, you certainly need to have an idea, right? If you don't have an idea, you don't have a business. But the other piece is you better really care about that idea, because being an entrepreneur means a lot of risk. It means a lot of sleepless nights. It means a lot of really hard work. It means a lot of, can mean a lot of tears and a lot of stress and everything else. And if you're not passionate about the idea, please don't waste your time. It's really critical to want to really drive a business to solve a problem and to create value to the customers that you want to work with. So, how am I doing on time? Am I okay here? Questions? Should I take questions, or? All right. Does anybody have any questions? I don't know how I'm going to hear you, but.
We got a mic here.
So the question is, how do we keep our company entrepreneurial as it grows? I would say that there's two pieces to that. I do get the question all the time, how do you keep your culture? We have a training class going on right now over at Warehouse Row, where our office is here. There are 13 kids in that training class. Well, one or two of them are not really kids, they're a little bit older. We hire them for their passion. We hire a huge number of ex-collegiate athletes because we know that these people have had to work their butts off to actually be an athlete in college and at the same time take care of their school and everything else. We know that they are used to being measured by the numbers, right? And we also know that no matter whether they win or lose today, they're used to coming back and having to do it again tomorrow. So we look for a lot of athletes, and in that training class over there's a guy that played baseball at Florida. There's a wrestler from one of the schools around here. And it's really about bringing in the right people to have that passion continue. Making sure that we stay entrepreneurial is about really encouraging people to take risks. Nobody's ever gotten in trouble at Coyote for taking a risk and failing. The key is to fail fast, right? Try something, fail fast, and get on and do something else. So. The biggest mistake we've made in business was trying to grow a business in Europe at the same time we were doing one in the US. We started in Europe about a month after we started in the US with a couple of guys that I had known from over there, a couple of French guys. The business environment is definitely different there. The food and the wine are incredible, but everything else is really difficult. But the big lesson that we learned there, and something I think that is also key for anybody that is starting a business or trying to grow a business, and that is you got to be focused. You got to make sure that you're focused on what your strengths are and stay true to that. We were offered the opportunity by one of our large customers to go down and set up and help them in Brazil about 2 years ago. And we decided that it would have been a great opportunity. We could have grown down there, but it would have taken so much of our time and energy and effort to try to break into that. Would have taken people resources that we would have had to send down there that, frankly, have helped us grow a lot better in North America.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm curious, when you talk about bringing in kids from college who are looking for something, and you recognize that's a great pool, clearly. Something that you're giving them is more than just a pitch about they can make 60, 70 grand a year. You've got to have some kind of simple statement, and I understand what you're saying from your talk about your core principles. What do you say to them when you're pitching to them, and what do you say to them? What are the things that you're telling them in their initial training?
So our job is really easy. We have 8 or 9, maybe 10, I guess, dedicated recruiters, 2 of those that are working on hiring interns. But something like 80% of the people that come to Coyote already know somebody that works at Coyote. Somebody from their basketball or hockey team, somebody from their fraternity or sorority, somebody who is inside of Coyote and talks to them about what goes on at Coyote. So that makes it really easy. That's hard to do at the beginning. Now it's a lot easier, right? So the thing that I think that the kids, at least that we're looking for, and whatever you do, it may be something different, but the reason people want to come to work at Coyote is there's probably three things, right? One is we win. We win all the time. We did $1 billion in revenue last year. We brought in access that was $500 million, and we've grown by $600 million this year. That's winning. People like to win. People like to have customers that love working with them. So winning is huge. The second thing is opportunity. I think that you read about the size of our industry, and there are different numbers that are thrown out there between 55 billion and 130 billion, right? So our opportunity to grow from 2 to 5 maybe and then 10 is ridiculous. Everything in this room, except for the people, got here on a truck, right? What the building is made out of, everything that you're eating and drinking, it got here on a truck, and a lot of things moved on multiple trucks. It's a massive industry with a huge amount of opportunity. So they come there for that. And then they come there for the atmosphere, right? They come to work in jeans or shorts. Shorts in Chattanooga and jeans in Chicago, right? They come to work in t-shirts, Coyote gear, logoed gear most of the time, not always, right? And it's not that they get to wear those things, it's that they work in an atmosphere where they can, right? Where the stress comes from the outside, not from the inside. And people work really hard. They're also, they socialize together. And it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever been afflicted by Glassdoor, which I think is a lame, wimpy attempt to give people a way to say anything that they want to about a company without having to use their name publicly, but it exists. So I've seen bad reports from a few employees that say that it's too much of a society, that people all want to go out together all the time. I hope that's the worst thing we ever do, is have a company where the culture is such that people like to work together and go out together. And especially as these kids are coming in from school, they're coming into this group where there's a ready social network for them.
So Jeff, you say you hire a lot, almost exclusively, directly out of college. What about the older workforce and folks that might be more experienced, particularly in your industry? It seems like there's a great workforce there. How do you work with them?
So we don't hire a lot of them, not because they're older, a little bit because they're experienced, because we find generally that people that we hire from other companies in our industry are coming in with habits that we don't love. One of our sort of key tenets in the way we run our business is to do the right thing no matter who's looking every single time. And not every company in our industry is full of people that have grown up with that same attitude. Now, again, we do hire people that are older for sure. We do hire people that are experienced. Our IT staff is much more experienced. There's a lot of things that we will do like that. We hire engineers right out of MIT that have all had other jobs along the way. But if we hire 450 people next year, 400 of them will be right out of school. It's just an efficient way for us to hire. One last one. So the question is if we're growing so fast organically, why did we buy Access? Do you know Ted? So we first met Ted about 4 or 5 years ago at an industry conference, and this fresh-faced pup bounds up to me and says, "Hey, do you have time to sit down and have lunch? I'd like to hear about your business. I followed you, blah blah blah." And for me, to sit down with a competitor is not something that I would do every day or want to do every day. But there was something about the excitement in this kid's face that made me want to sit down and talk to him, and basically sat there with my CFO and him for an hour and a half and told him every secret about everything that we ever did, for whatever reason. They had not started that long before that, and they were growing and growing, and he got in touch with our CFO, well, a little over a year ago now, and the CFO came to me and said, hey, these guys are interested in coming in and seeing what we're doing now at Coyote. And I said, well, we are growing too fast to ever want to buy anything, so don't have them come in. My CFO, thankfully, completely ignored me, had him come in anyway, and didn't even tell me he was doing it. And pretty soon we were starting to talk to them, and really we came down, my wife and I came down here, I don't even remember what month that was, and walked into the office in Warehouse Row, and right away we walked into a situation that seemed exactly the same as what we had created, only the shirts and the hats and everything were SEC teams and not Big Ten. And I've been over the course of this enterprise to a bunch of different logistics companies, and almost every time you walk into one of them, it's people that are sitting in big cubes and you could hear a pin drop and there's nothing going on and no energy and nothing. And my wife, as the mama coyote, as the protector of culture, thinks that we're great and everybody else stinks, and was very skeptical about walking into this thing down here in Tennessee. And we walked in and she was like, oh my God, this thing is great. So we bought it because we felt the same sort of pump and the same engaged, passionate employees. And it has really done fabulously well so far. We're ecstatic with it. So there was one other one. And then we'll go.
Just a question. As far as hiring new people is concerned, you are unique as far as entrepreneurs are concerned because you're already established and you have capital. I think most entrepreneurs don't have that position. They have no money, they don't have a proven record, and nobody wants to be hired by them, assuming you can pay them. How do you overcome that obstacle, both the capital and the non-proven record, to convince, for example, students who are just graduating to come work for you?
It's tough as hell. I have called Lamppost. You need to find help, right? There's nothing worse than being underfunded. That is really difficult in almost any kind of an enterprise to not have enough money. So there are tons of different opportunities to get help with those kinds of things, and mentorship is one thing that Lamppost does. Funding is another, but there are other groups, if I can say that without those guys getting mad at me back there, but there are other people that can help as well. So we were very fortunate to not be in that situation, as you said, so it's really, I don't have a great answer for you other than get the right help. All right.
One more thing. Before you leave the stage, like you and like Coyote, Chattanooga, and certainly Chattanooga's business community believe in giving back. We know that the St. Jude's Children's Hospital is your cause, and in appreciation for your time and thoughts sharing with us today, we want to make sure you know that we've made a contribution to St. Jude's in your name.
Thank you very much. So thank you for that. And just a word on St. Jude's is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it is an incredible institution that that has dedicated itself to never ever having to turn away a kid that needs help. They burn $1 million a day in their operating budget and relies only on support of private donations to help them. The other really cool thing about them is that everything they do, talk about innovation, everything they do, everything that they discover is completely open source. So they have this incredible program going on right now where they're basically taking every kind of cancer cell and exposing it to every element they can, or that they haven't deduced through the use of these very powerful computer systems won't work, and testing them to see what, it's like a giant throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, and it's working. And as soon as they make any kind of discovery, it's available immediately to every other hospital, every university, and anybody that's working on these kind of problems. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. Here in the Chattanooga area, it's clear that we're proud of our creativity and our innovation. It's that we like working together. We like creating new ideas and ventures. We're a community of people who take action to create new solutions rather than wait for someone else to step up. Not surprising then today, our chamber has more members, as I said earlier, than anywhere else. That's an indication of the community in which you're sitting right now. We're committed to the support and capitalization of new businesses. We're committed to the idea creation and job creation and workforce development. I hope today inspired you to learn more about the innovators in our community, the ones who won't rest until they find new ways to help us in our everyday lives. We know innovations are taking place right now at this very moment. It's clear that Chattanooga knows how to collaborate and create, and that's exciting and challenging. So as we conclude now, I would invite all of our finalists to join me on stage for a few more photos, some handshaking, and with that, we will conclude our program. Thank you so much to every one of you for joining us. See you next year. Thank you.